Good morning or
Or
afternoon.
yeah, or afternoon. For those that are already here, I mean, of course, we're going to have more and more people trickling in. We're actually just going to start off because you know how every live stream starts, just a few minutes to give everyone some time. We want everyone to have a chance to get into Anasaea's 3D gallery, where you can literally walk around, see all the pieces of artwork as well, and a lot of the work that we're going to be talking about today anyway. So it's super interactive, and you can go ahead and even just jump in there right now, so you can see and see some of the artwork and just kind of see some of the cool innovations that Anasaea is doing in the first place, which I will also jump in there because it's always fun to be in like a metaverse like environment, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it's not a metaverse. It's a high-end 3D. That's what we were trying to do. We believe that the internet is two-dimensional, the world is three-dimensional, and we would like to make the internet as well three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Anasaea, it stands for sort of the seven continents of the world. So each letter from Anasaea is one of the letters of the seven continents. We're like trying to, I guess, democratize the art world, give everybody an opportunity to showcase their art.
Love it. And then yes, Casey, this is also going to be, just for everybody's information. This is being recorded and this will be sent to you after the fact, as well as we will have we'll also have it on our YouTube channel. So there will be lots of opportunities to see the recording of this after the fact. So yes, yeah, very, very, very cool. So yeah, as you can see right now, this is kind of us just walking around the 3D gallery right now. Very, very cool. And Mark, I think you were saying that this is actually in Austria, right? Like literally.
Yeah, this is an actual digital twin of so I won't say how old I am, but let's say over 20 years ago I went to an Austrian university, and that space physically exists. It used to be a library. Now it's become an art gallery, and there are many, many different art shows. And this was actually done last year in June for Sigmund Freud, who's a very famous Austrian psychologist. It's called the Window in the Couch.
Wow.
There's many, many artists who are in there. So yeah, it's still of course live because in digital space you can have everything live. But that building is now occupied with, I think, another art exhibition that we also did.
Wow. That's very cool. So I mean, everybody, I will encourage all of you. I mean, as you see us sharing the screen right now, uh, we're going to be, talking about more or less all of this today. So, jump in there, jump in the space, walk around, look at some of the art. You can interact with it. You can kind of see the descriptions and everything. You can get up close with it. You can zoom in, as you can see. So, I would encourage everyone. It's
Yeah, you,
like
you can you can zoom on it and also add lights and look at it from a textural perspective. So we don't just put a JPEG up. We literally try to put a three-dimensional. We use AI, of course, to try to like make the light refractions
wow.
look correct, like as if it was in real life.
I mean, that's absolutely insane. So that you can see this specifically, and kind of experience the fun, truly the fun and the uniqueness and the awesome ability to interact with art in a completely different way than I would say most of us are probably used to. So definitely try that, give that a try, and then as we're going throughout this live stream, feel free to jump in and out of there whenever we're talking about it, so you can actually interact basically with our talk for the most part. So everybody, let's go ahead. I'm going to give a brief introduction and some, rules of the road basically when going through this for today's session. My name is Austin Bram. I am the AI evangelist here at Integrail. And basically, I have the opportunity and the pleasure of working with Marek and working with all of our clients in this case to showcase what we are doing with all of these amazing customers and friends of ours, basically. So, when it comes to marketing, creating marketing content at scale can be super challenging. So I work in marketing specifically here at Integrail. And, between juggling the SEO, social media, like every single day, engaging with the audience, all of that across multiple different platforms, it can feel like an endless grind. And I know that firsthand. And that's why we're super excited to show you how these AI workers can transform every part of your marketing operations. So today, I am honored to be joined by our special guest, Marek Świrid, who is the CEO of Anasaea. And Mark leads an innovative e-commerce platform, which you have now even seen a part of, that's revolutionizing how art is discovered, experienced, and also valued. They have over 40,000 pieces of artwork in their collection, and Anasaea has faced significant challenges in scaling some content creation and SEO optimization, challenges that many marketing teams can relate to. So in today's session, we'll explore how Anasaea implemented these AI workers to automate this SEO optimization, generating thousands of keyword-rich descriptions, the process of scaling content creation across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, which a lot of us are having to deal with, as well as the measurable impact on the visibility and the engagement and the cost savings. So, as well as we'll look into, a little bit of how these AI agents will work. We're not going to actually show any of the AI agents today, but you will see what they have produced basically. And in all of this, our AI agents, as we call them, throughout this conversation, AI workers, can help you and your company produce 10 times more content, optimize visibility, and ultimately drive engagement, all without having to expand your team or the dreaded phrase of having to increase your budget. So, Mark, thank you for joining us today. I am super excited to kind of dive into Anasaea's journey through implementing AI workers and for you to share these insights with our audience. So let's get started with our first question, Mark. Let's go ahead and start off with, which you kind of already went into a little bit, but I want to spend some more time on it. Can you tell us about Anasaea's mission and some of the challenges that you've faced in achieving that mission?
Yeah. So number one, thanks for having me. This week is a good week for having me because we just got to 100,000 users on our platform, artists and galleries, museums, and of course, art lovers. And, we get like 120, 150 artists registering a single day. You can imagine for an e-commerce platform who is trying to help, democratize art and get artists, into the spotlight. We face a lot of challenges, especially with that kind of scale. So what we looked at, in this kind of thing is how can we help automate the idea of helping artists, with SEO, with content creation, and how can we not take on that task ourselves, to be quite honest? Because with 150 artists, every single day, you face a lot of challenges. Just onboarding them and helping them, learn the platform is difficult. And then helping them with marketing and helping them with content creation and the right SEO words. It's too much and we are a startup, but we are a fast growing startup. So it's too much for us. So the first thing we did, to be honest, is we sort of looked at SEO. And, when a new user comes on, whether it's TikTok or whether it's any e-commerce platform, they oftentimes don't describe their artwork correctly, which means that Google does not necessarily find it. It doesn't necessarily index it. They might come onto, the platform and be like, all right, I will present my artwork, but they will describe it in a way where, SEO does not find it. So we thought we would find a way to fix that by using, I guess, Integrail in the end, to describe the artwork and describe it on scale so that Google was able to actually discover it. And that was sort of the first step in the journey, is just, taking the image, putting into an AI agentic format and getting the description so that we can then integrate it using our team into the actual platform. So that was the first step.
Gotcha. Okay. And that makes a ton of sense, which immediately, I feel like this is probably something that you actually get pretty often. And I know that it's definitely true for myself. So I'm almost just curious myself, but I'm sure a lot of people in the audience are also curious of themselves. When it comes down to this idea of even the whole idea of Anasaea using agentic AI workflows, AI workers, whatever we want to call them, this is almost like a background question. How did you even initially think of these goals? How did you even initially choose Integrail and like how to, I feel like a lot of people in the art space, especially, aren't even thinking about AI or especially agentic AI. Like, how did you even think of this?
Well, I have to give one shout out to an artist who has been a long-term fan of ours. He's an Italian gentleman, Paolo Volante. He's also an old school AI guy. He used to work for Sun Microsystem, turned into an artist. And he said, Marek, I think we can do better with AI. So I have to give a shout out to him. So that's how we kind of looked at it. And I said, well, I don't understand. Like, what can you do with it? And he said, listen, um, honestly speaking, I can show you visually. And that was kind of the cool part of Integrail, because I am not very technical. I worked 20 years in Oracle and VMware, but I was always in sales. And he said, look, what we can do is we can input these pictures, we can input whatever information we have. And then he showed me with your visual editor, what can be the outcome. And for me, as a manager, as CEO, I was like, all right, now I'm interested in what's going to happen next. And that's kind of how we started with it.
Interesting. Okay. And then with that in mind, why exactly did you find yourself in the position of deciding to use Integrail's AI platform? There's a million different platforms nowadays. I feel like maybe that aren't doing agentic AI, but that are using AI. Why did you decide to use Integrail over other platforms?
Um, so as I said, I worked for Oracle, I worked for VMware and IBM and these kind of companies, DB2 databases and everything. I'm scared of lock-in. That is something that I don't want to be involved in. And every time I turn to the news, and this is even before DeepSeek, every time the next LLM is beating the next LLM, and this one is better, and this one can describe things better, and this one does this and that. To be fair, it's paranoia for somebody in my position. I don't want to be locked in. So when I looked at Integrail, the ability to change, the LLM, like basically like this, as far as I've seen, and then evaluate the cost of that while changing it was a fundamentally important decision for me. So when I understood that I don't have to be locked in, and I don't have to be locked in to a future which is a little bit uncertain, because every day, like I said, you see the next best LLM, it's Llama, it's DeepSeek, it's whoever it is. So that was a kind of a fundamental thing for me. And that's how we started to look at it from that perspective. Yeah. It
Yep.
was mostly fear of future costs, I would say.
And that, I feel like that is, obviously being in this position, I do a lot of just AI in research, I guess you would call it, and I'm always trying out the latest thing. That, like you, I feel like so many people, the idea of being locked in to whatever model you choose, it's like, oh well, you don't have a choice. Like, you have to use GPT 4.0, or you have to use Llama 3.5 or Llama 4 now, and that's one thing that I always like to point out to people when looking into Integral's AI Studio, is the idea of being able to try out many different LLMs for the most part.
We did that. We did that continuously. Actually,
Okay.
we switched multiple times, and we used multiple LLMs. And we were going when we were first going on scale with the SEO descriptions, and that's before we did the YouTube and the other stuff. We actually were like, all right, what's this going to cost us long term? And then we switched multiple times and did some A/B testing.
Interesting. And okay, so is there, and this is just for the kicks and giggles for everyone here. Do you know exactly which model that you guys have kind of been like, oh, we actually tend to like this model the best?
Honestly, it was continuously switching. Like I said, I'm not a techie guy. So there's my prompt engineer, my developers, and a continual discussion, because it was like, which one can describe art better? Like, because we were putting in a picture, right? And the picture has to be described. And then we were also testing it with artists and going like, does that describe your art? Like, we can't just go ahead and be like, all right, we just describe it and that's it for SEO reasons. We have to be, this is somebody's copyright. This is somebody's art. This is somebody's work. We have to, test it. So we tested it, with thousands of artists, just sending the emails. Not everybody answered, of course, but mostly they were like, ooh, that's pretty good. So that was very important for us.
Yeah, no, that's something that I feel like is as more and more people, especially even try out our platform, you will naturally see all the different models that are there that you're like, man, I wonder what that says. I wonder. I mean, everyone hears how Claude, 3.5 or 3.7 is, the
Yeah,
best that.
Claude was actually the one that we were using the most for being descriptive, but then we decided it was too expensive at that point, and we moved
Yeah.
to, I think, back to OpenAI.
Yeah, which is once again huge. Okay, so that's just kind of the nerd in me, the AI nerd here, being like, oh, but which model did you guys end up finding using? So that's great
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hear.
Claude was the best, I think, but it was the at that point, anyways. I don't know what it is right now. It was the most expensive.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And it can be more expensive than others, which is cool that we can actually see how much would something cost. So
No,
if
but
you
we,
had,
we linked multiple models, so like
yeah,
we didn't just use one during the entire process. So
yep.
depending on what we were describing, what we needed for.
And so on that, actually, so one of the things that you have told us and that we've seen that you use for, your agents is for SEO specifically. Like you've kind of mentioned in the beginning that a lot of times it gets hard for when the artists are trying to create their own descriptions, they're not Google optimized, they're not keyword optimized, anything like that. How would you say that this SEO agent has actually done the work to improve your search engine ranking then?
Well, we tripled the amount of like sort of a Google recognized art pieces in basically 2 months. So because Google sort of we have, I think, 100,000 pages within Anasaea, like individuals, because everybody uploads their art. Everybody's so we really have maybe more than 100,000 individual pages, and Google has to scroll through them. They have to, and Google only logically does one thing and another thing, and if it doesn't like it, then it stops doing it, and you cannot influence Google, to be quite fair. So you have to sort of give it the right impetus to continue to go through your website and give you the ability to be recognized and then obviously recommended. So it really tripled within 2 months the amount of pages that were available for Google to scroll. So that was good for us, and that was good for the artists, of course.
Okay. And then, I mean, if you like, just for everyone's general information here, could you go ahead and just even give us a brief description slash rundown of what exactly this SEO agent, like, what was your original impetus of like, we needed to do X, Y, and Z to do this? So what does the agent actually do?
No, the agent basically just takes the actual picture, so like the actual artist picture. So it looks at it and it goes, "All right, this is what I think it looks like." It takes the description from the artist. Obviously, the artist wrote something about it. It takes the description about the artist. It does like a little bit of research to find out how that artist compares to another artist. It goes, okay, this particular art piece could be better described in these kind of words versus like some artists can write, I was in Paris and I like blue. That's not really helpful for Google. But if this is an oil painted canvas with red and blue tones that is 17 by 50 centimeters or 1 meter by 2 meters or how many inches, whatever it is, and it was painted in a Parisian background, and it really gets the information about the artist and information about the thing, then Google will actually point to it, and that was the important part.
And
So,
that brings up an important, I guess, point on top of that is if it is taking this, basically using an image to text,
yes,
model,
that's the initial part. Yeah.
and it is then able to then create its own idea, basically, of what this image or the painting in this case um, should look like. A good description would it be? How exactly do the artists feel about the descriptions that are created?
Um, that's very interesting because I think the next part of this conversation is the more interesting part, because from what we did there, we started to create YouTube videos for those artworks. So that meta description is one thing, and then it's located on the website, and the artists can choose to delete it or not. It's up to them, but they have their own description, and then we have a description about it by ourselves later on. So this is up to them. But the bigger point was, what can we do now with that? Can we help the artists get discovered not just on our website, but can we do it and give it onto YouTube so that it points back towards their website? Can we put it onto Instagram? Can we put it onto TikTok so that they have multiple touch points for their discovery? And that's when it got more interesting for us.
Okay, so I mean, so obviously we will definitely be getting into content I mean, me being a content creator as well. Of like, wow, that's super useful to even hear that you guys were doing this. But at the same time, of you're talking about the idea of your artists being able to have their artwork discovered in multiple different platforms. Is there the kind of the idea of like, are they generally very excited about hearing that that maybe like you guys are basically doing, or this agent is doing all this marketing for them for the most part and having this greater discoverability? Or how do you exactly speak to them about this option, basically?
Well, basically, most artists they usually are tied somehow to the usual standard, which is having a gallery. But actually, most artists don't have a gallery. So they're oftentimes, so what we provide as Anasaea is we try to provide tools. Our tools are, you can share easily on social media. You have high quality 3D pictures. You can meet people in the gallery. So we like we are on Zoom, I think right now. You can meet in the gallery and talk to each other. So you can have meetings. You can have vernissage. You can have vernissage. You can have it on your app. You can have it in VR. So we have an AI agent that allows you to write your own or to give you your own media posts. So we're trying to give artists as many tools as possible to be discovered, because many artists, in this noise of the entire internet, they don't know how to get discovered. And being discovered by an individual gallery in New York or Peru or wherever you are, it's very limited to a physical job. So what we're trying to do is give them discoverability tools. And if those discoverability tools do not take anything away from their copyright, they are friendly, and you do it in a good way, they are very happy about that. Obviously, they don't want any AI scraping of their art, and we do not do that. We are very, very, very secure, but we are trying to provide tools for them to be discovered. So on a general basis, and I would say 99%, they are very happy because they want the help and they want the tools.
Okay. Well, which makes us very happy to hear as well. So that goes exactly into kind of the next agent that you were just alluding to, was this content creation agent. Could you go ahead and even just give us a brief description about, once again, like, how did you even think of this, and what does it do basically?
It started off, to be fair, again with Paulo. Shout out Paulo. I think he was using Google LM or whatever it's called, and he made like a little podcast, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so we said, all right, we have all this metadata, and we discussed with developers and everything. We have all this metadata which already has the description of the art piece. And then we talked to one gentleman, Sylvain Levy, who is a very famous. Sylvain Levy and Dominique Levy, they're quite famous collectors. They have one of the largest Chinese contemporary art piece collections in Europe. And we said, hey, can we use AI to create a podcast about your art? And they're collectors, and they said, all right, then let's try this out. So we created the podcast using, again, Integrail. So we took the data, we fed it, we created, not me, of course. We created the voice, we created the description, we set it to make everything moving, and maybe show an example later. And we showed it to Sylvain, and he was blown away. Because for him, as a collector, he was like, I've collected this art over the past 20 years, but this is giving me a new perspective on what I have collected. It's somehow all of human knowledge giving you a different idea on an art piece. It's kind of a discussion that you can have with the data which AI is giving you. And he was like, this is fantastic. I mean, this is something very cool. And we said, all right, well then let's do it for artists. And then we started doing it for artists. And the artists came back and they were like, wow, you understood my art. And obviously, we did not understand their art. I understood their art, but it created an additional way for them to be discovered. It created a whole YouTube channel that pointed back again to their Instagram. It pointed back to them to Anasaea. So it starts to, sort of all fit into perspective. And that was kind of the impetus for that, to give them that additional tool. And of course, you can imagine how proud some people are when they have something like that.
Yeah, is this something that like, I mean, I could imagine once again, for people that have never posted content or created their own content, it can be, it can be
Daunting.
yeah, exactly daunting and also not always very fun. If you don't like making content, that's the last thing you want to do. So there's usually in their case, a very positive view of this extra promotion that you said was at what on which different platforms did you say that these are on now?
We started with a YouTube, and then we put it onto Spotify, and that was the longs because we started with the long content, right? So it was like to be fair, the AI almost decided, depending on the. To be fair, the AI did decide. Sometimes it was like 3 minutes, sometimes it was 7 minutes, depending on the history of the artist, because we didn't just talk about the art piece. It talked about the artist and as much history as it could dig up based on the information we had, and maybe like something from the internet as well.
Wow. so so these artists are basically seeing these created, visuals based off of their art, and but they're also hearing what the AI has to say about their history as well, right? Like personally. So they're
Yes.
more they feel more connected to it because they're like, wow, this is also understanding me as a person, as an artist myself.
So 0% of anybody said, and we emailed every single person, like we are very fair. Here's your podcast. Do you like it? Do you agree with it? Can we post it for you? 100% said yes. So there was nothing that we didn't do without any consent.
Wow.
And they were like, wow, that's really cool. I'm on YouTube. There's a 3 minute or 4 minute piece about me, about my art piece. It's very interesting to hear what's, all of the internet, all the data we have on the internet can say about this thing, because, people like to talk about themselves. People like to talk about their art. So I think, because, we were very upfront about it and clear about it, it was a very positive thing for everybody, I would say.
Wow. And so with all of this content being created, and like you even, we talked about in the last agent with SEO, there's a lot of, Google does a lot in rankings, and obviously for every even social media, they have their own algorithm for these things. How has this content generation agent helped both Anasaea on Anasaea's online presence with, let's say in these actual algorithms with, let's say, YouTube or Spotify, as well as if you have any information on any of the actual artists themselves.
Well, the first thing is that once this thing was built, we could do 40 podcasts a day just on one computer, because it takes some computing time to do it, right? And literally, if we were having 1,000 artists coming in a day and there's millions, then we can do 1,000 podcasts a day if we wanted to. So the scalability of this solution is more the impressive part, because normally you would take this kind of podcast would take $500 or $600. Somebody would have to like do the research, put everything through. But now that it's automated, it's in and out. Like we didn't have to hire anybody for this, and it wouldn't have scaled in any other way. It's not possible for it to scale any other way. And that was the more interesting part for me, because I couldn't have, as as small company, medium company, whatever we are, but we have a lot of people. We couldn't scale faster, and this is like the fastest way to scale and to produce content that is good. And we can always tune the LLM, we can always tune the prompts, and it gets better and better every time.
So basically what you're saying is the idea of an AI agent, or as like I said, we call them AI workers, was able to save vast amounts of time and in your case of a budget that you had to work from, and it actually was able to stay within the confines of all that and help the efficiency of all of Anasaea basically.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have been possible otherwise. We would have had to hire a team. We would have had to hire a lot of Austins, I have to say, and a lot of people who were able to post those things and who were going to know the different. It became automated, and the more we figured it out, and the more we tuned it, and of course there was a little bit of coding, but not that much. The more we just then it became just like post by itself. Like literally, we can post as many posts as we want at this point on YouTube and Spotify.
But now, as much, I mean, and this actually kind of goes to Jonathan's question in the chat a little bit. And of course, like you've said, I mean, you're the CEO. You're not the one that's literally, boots on the ground, having to make any of these agents. As much as you can you kind of walk us through the process of how the agent creates a video from an image, if you know?
Ah, I do know, but I honestly I don't remember. It's called something I think Ken Burns or Burns process. I would have to look it up. It's part of the agent. It moves the picture and sort of as the person talks, it zooms in on the pieces of it. But I think you caught me out on this one. I would be lying if I knew exactly what I was saying.
No, absolutely. And I think it's basically the idea of too of like, so it's able to take these images and basically deploy them to YouTube. In our case, can be through an API, which we can talk about later for you, Jonathan,
Yeah.
specifically, and then able to make all those descriptions and all that, and it does it all basically on its own. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, there's some computing time, and obviously it took some coding as well. But yeah, at this point, it's you can basically put a bunch of images at the beginning of the month, and then go. All right, I want to schedule, which is 2 posts or 3 posts or 5 posts or whatever it is a day. We don't want to make too many posts because obviously, we want to give everybody their fair share of time. You don't want to flood the internet with data, which is also a problem. So you have to be actually with AI agents, you have to be a little bit careful, right? You could overflood the market with all this data, and that also isn't good for you. You have to be very careful about, give everybody their spotlight and give everybody their time, and be careful about how much you post, because sometimes overposting can be as bad as underposting.
Yeah, very. So even a fine line of, you have the ability, like you said. I mean, 40 podcasts a day, literally would be impossible for a human to do. It would probably take 20 hours to do all that work per day for that many podcasts. So
It's possible, but then you would flood your YouTube channel, right? And that also would be negative, right? So you have to be careful as well. Otherwise, you become a spammer, and that's also a problem because I think there is a lot of internet spam right now, and we want to create quality content. That's important for us.
yeah, absolutely, and I completely agree. And I think the perfect way to actually go through this now would be kind of the idea of, Heidi, if you wouldn't mind, we would actually like to show some of you kind of what we are even talking about. So they do have a YouTube channel for all these art posts, as well as we can show you some of the, on their website, what you can see with the SEO description. No. And it's fine, yeah. And in this case, the podcasts. So when you see here, yeah, this is actually I've watched this specific one a few times. Heidi, even feel free to even turn on the sound.
Connection and the pursuit of love. This is the story that Belgian artist Jan Goris invites us to explore in his captivating oil painting, The Seed of Life. As we gaze upon this vibrant canvas, our eyes are immediately drawn to the mesmerizing spiral at its center. It's a powerful symbol reminding us of the cyclical nature of existence and the profound.
Go ahead and pause that for us, Heidi. If you don't mind, actually, could you click on the description of the YouTube video when you get a chance? I know it's kind of giving you some.
Yeah, if you scroll down, Ivy.
Let's just see kind of what because this I assume this is part of also its post, is it's writing the description and all this.
Right. So and then of course we there is like the actual text, and then we link it back to the to artist page, so that the artist is as well able to then benefit from potential sales. Because in the end, what we're trying to do is help the artist sell, right? This is one of the most major parts of Anasaea. we want to make sure that they have from this YouTube channel the ability for people to go to their page and then potentially, purchase their artwork.
Yep. No, I mean that makes a ton of sense. And like I keep pointing back to, which a lot of people, if you've never done this manually, like you don't quite understand how long it could take and how much goes into actually writing a keyword optimized YouTube description, actually, of course, posting it. But then the fact of and this is the Ken Burns effect of like what you're saying, it's kind of bouncing around, even zooming in at times. It created this itself based off of the image, the art piece that was given, which, for people that aren't, let's say, coders or in this space very much, it's almost like magic. I feel like for a lot of people that it can do this itself.
Yes, and we've had such positive feedback. So I guess from there we went to like sort of the next step, and we said, all right, can we make shorts out of this? Because YouTube might be a longer piece of information, but we went, fine, let's make shorts for TikTok. Let's make shorts for Instagram, and again to start helping from Instagram and TikTok. Of course, we need the artists to help us, right? So we give them the link; they can promote it themselves. In the end, it's a tool, right? It's a tool for the artists to show their work in different formats. We're like, you're providing us a tool to save a little bit of money and not a lot of money, to be fair, and to make something consecutive. We are trying to help the artists do the same thing, because in the end we want them to be responsible. I want them to be responsible for their careers, for their art careers, and we charge very little, commission. So for us, it's kind of this art democratization. I think you guys are sort of into democratizing of AI, and we're into democratizing art.
Which is perfect. What a great combo right there. And I know that I think you were also saying that you would Heidi as well. If you have any of the, like, I think it's on your website, you wanted to show some options on the web, or some of the descriptions on the website as well. If you have that, Heidi, you can feel free to go there. But if not, this is perfectly fine and great to see the descriptions here on YouTube as well.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the Anasaea website. We have actually also the podcasts on the website. We have the shorts on the website. So it all comes together as well, so that you have a very good scrolling experience.
Yeah.
And now we are thinking about, some other things with Integrail, especially around how to measure the price of art, because that's something very interesting to us. We are often asked by collectors, and we also often asked by artists, how do we measure the price of an art piece? And that's a little bit of a secret, so I'm not going to go too far about it. But if you have enough data and you have enough AI agents who are able to scroll through everything, you can also start to think about, what is an art piece worth? How can we measure it against, not just not talent, because it's hard to measure talent, but like the amount of work somebody has put in. Are they really doing a lot of shows? Have they sold something in the past? Are they active on social media? So to match a buyer with a seller, because in the end it's all about matching people, right? Art is about having a story. It's not, just buying it for investment. Of course, sometimes it is for an investment, but there has to be a story, and the seller and the buyer, they have to sort of find them each other, and that's kind of the next thing that we are experimenting with Integrail.
Wow, that's okay. So it's kind of like a, hey, stay tuned type of situation, which is.
Let's see if we can crack that one. If we can crack that one, that would be something very special.
Well, I mean, that goes to the idea of, so now we've at least gone over these two agents here that are literally already being used daily, like they are in production, and then a theoretical one that you guys are even thinking about. What would you say are like the biggest benefits of using an agentic AI workflow, like that for Anasaea, or even just in general? Like, what has been kind of the biggest benefits that you guys have seen?
I mean, in the end, it's like having workers that you manage in a way um, that are somehow available all the time. So they don't really have holidays or whatever. That help you as a human being be more effective. For us, being more effective means helping artists and helping potential buyers find each other. That's being more effective versus sort of doing all this kind of work as we scale because it would be impossible otherwise. So for us, it's kind of like we have these AI workers that we are able to manage, but not manage. You know, we need to tune them and we can change them a little bit and make sure that they're, you know, they're cost efficient, change the LLM, whatever it is. But it's kind of multiplying our workforce, a workforce that we honestly could not afford otherwise. So it's a cost saving that I couldn't afford. So I don't know how to describe that exactly, but I couldn't do it, but now I can.
Yeah, and and this is something that actually our CEO Peter Guagenti says a lot. Like, and I love that he says it. Is that these AI workers, AI agents, whatever you want to call them, is basically the ability to take maybe like your employee of the month and make it at scale, so that you can. They never sleep. They don't, like you said, they don't have holidays. They don't need to take time off. They don't need to eat all these things, and you can almost tune them in whatever way that you essentially want to create something that your business needs or desires at scale, basically.
Yeah, but there's one thing I have to say. You do need somebody who's able to help you build it because I can tell you it's impossible to find the talent who's able to build it for you. So, like, as I made this shout out earlier to the gentleman Paulo, he was able to do it, and I really respect him for it. It's very difficult to do it yourself because most people have no idea what's going on. It's very difficult to visualize. But if you can find that right talent and that person is able to help you, then it's worth its weight in gold.
And that I'm glad you brought that up, because Elena actually asks that question in the chat. Is do you work with zero human in the loop? Especially, of course I'll give you a chance to say on your end, Mark, but when it comes to all of these workers, agents, it does require someone to literally build it. They don't build themselves, at least yet, or else that would be like a self-replicating AI. And we'd be having a different conversation right now. But then at the same time is it does require, and from my experience, lots of different iterations. Like Mark even said, switching from Claude to GPT-4o or switching around, and AI is not perfect. It does require those iterations, and sometimes it can throw back, like LLMs. If you've ever worked with them,
Oh no, they can
throw back.
hallucinate, they can make mistakes.
Yeah.
You have to monitor. You cannot just let AI do its own thing. Absolutely not. Like that would be a mistake. You have to have human interaction. That's absolutely necessary.
One exactly. I can't reiterate that enough for everyone here that's listening. Do not just blanketly trust AI. Of course,
Oh no, oh, no, do not. There's great results and there can be also great failure.
yes, absolutely. But so with this and kind of the idea of all these agentic AI workflows, and especially in this case, literally helping these artists. How have you found that your relationships with your artists and or collectors has improved or changed because of these, being able to use these agents?
I mean, in the end, positively, I have to say. So that's for sure. Um, the tools that we are providing are getting more concise. We are tackling the problem of moving, a physical art world into an e-commerce world, into a sort of an immersive world. And those tools are very important because at least the art world, and to be fair, even the real world is still stuck like in physical goods. So this relationship for us has become important in the sense that people, how can I say it? They really appreciate that we are taking time to recognize them sort of individually. And even though it's somehow agentic, it doesn't have a negative implication for me. So in the end, very well, I would say.
And I feel like probably, you even alluded to it. We all know this, that our humans' favorite word is their own like name, like that, that idea. And even the ability for, let's say, like, Mark, you were to tag me on LinkedIn, like that, even like all those little times of being recognized.
I think I did today.
Yeah, quite literally, you did. Yes.
Yeah.
So like the idea that now these artists are being recognized for something, both their own expertise and their own experience and all that, but also the art that they're creating. I can only imagine that they love to hear all this about themselves.
Well, it's not only about being recognized; it's about giving them a product. So that YouTube is a product. That post is a product. They're able to use that product for their own personal gain. They're able to use it for their own personal promotion. We're just giving them the product. Like if they choose not to use it, if they don't want to use it, they don't have to. It's a personal choice.
Yeah. Okay. And well, so this, it's quite apparent, and it's clear that you in this case are, and for those that don't know, agentic AI is rather new, or I mean, the concept is old, but it's a new, platform-esque, like our platforms that are coming up, even our own. And so you're really on the cutting edge of innovation here. What would you say, and what advice would you give to other businesses that are trying to basically tackle the scalability, efficiency, budget problems with agentic AI through your experience, basically?
Number one, do your A/B testing, right? Don't just jump into one thing. Don't just jump into one LLM and go, right, this is what I'm doing. Do your testing. It doesn't have to be a lot of testing, but be careful. Every day there's something which is new, and you need to be able to be flexible. So flexibility for me is fundamentally important. Number two, trust, but mitigate by checking continuously. LLMs are not perfect. Agentic AI is not perfect. It's a new thing. It can bring you huge value, but you have to have a human monitoring it for now. Number three, find yourself some kind of expert, somebody who really knows. They're probably very hard to find in the market these days because everybody's looking for them. But if you find the right partner, and for me, like for example, I have to say also a shout out to Dennis. He's I think one of your team members. He was very helpful to my team members. If you find a good partner, then they're able to really help mold that relationship. In the end, this is about scalability, this is about growth, and this is about supercharging your business. If you're not going to be involved in that, you're probably going to have a problem in a couple of years. Be careful about just going all in, but if you don't go, I would say it's going to be a problem for your business.
And this is actually super timely. If any of you have been, or at least in the AI space at all, or even it's on social media everywhere right now, is that Spotify, I think it's Spotify, their CEO literally just came out and was talking about.
No, it was Shopify.
Shopify, see exactly. Even yet, you've seen.
Yeah, wait a second. Now I need to make a plug for my other company called Immerse, because we are on Shopify and we do have AI, and we're going to be working with you guys as well for 3D e-commerce. And it was exactly the CEO of Shopify who just said that. But please go ahead.
Oh, so thank you, and that's a great plug for that as well. Thank you for working with us again. But yeah, the CEO of Shopify, thank you, was saying that he is basically changing the structure of how Shopify is doing work altogether. Before he hires anybody, he needs to know, can AI automate this? And or can a human that can use AI automate this and or build off?
That's not exactly what he said. He said that every human that he hires needs to be able to prompt.
Yes.
That they need to understand how to use AI so that they're more capable in their business. So it's not about not hiring humans, it's about, can that human use AI? That's what I understood anyways.
Yeah, no, and exactly. It goes to the same exact thing of even since ChatGPT came out, the general idea was AI necessarily won't steal your job, but someone or replace your job, but someone that knows how to use AI can end up replacing your job. So it's the idea of being,
or just being more lazy and having more time outside walking their dog.
hey, that in Austria right now, I'm sure it's getting a lot nicer. So I wouldn't.
I'm just looking out the window, and I definitely after this, I'm going to walk my little dog Snip.
Perfect. See, exactly. So what I like to say to everybody here is right now is the absolute best time to start learning these skills. I mean, you should already be trying ChatGPT, trying AI, but if you can now, as things are shifting towards agentic AI and agentic AI workflows, start learning to do this yourself, which we have a platform that you can actually start building on. And I have made plenty of YouTube videos. I even just put one up a few days ago about how to build your own marketing AI agent, which is kind of along the lines of what we talked about today. So there are things that you can do to make yourself ready for this agentic revolution that's happening in the market right now. And then, as you heard from an actual CEO here, like this is something that he intends to keep doing and is important, especially, I mean, even Shopify's CEO is saying that it is important for everyone to know how to use these systems and use AI and especially agentic AI. So lots of pertinent information. But Mark, I have one last question for you, just so that we can, I feel like a lot of people, especially, I mean, I'm also speaking from my personal experience, don't have access or don't know anybody that is a literal professional in the art space. So maybe not an artist yourself, but you're definitely an art professional. You understand the business, you understand all that. How
I mean, you say so, but all right.
I'll give it to you at least. How exactly do you view AI generated art, and how, especially, I mean, I know you work with artists and you interact with artists. How do you see it kind of working in their eyes?
Oh, you
And
put me on the spot now.
ethically.
Um, so I believe that, every artist needs to have the power of their copyright. The entire point of Anasaea is that we want to protect copyright. We want to give the artist the ability to earn off of their work like a musician or like a movie star or somebody on Netflix, that if somebody is reusing their art form, they're able to have a lifelong business out of it, not just sell a piece and then suddenly it's gone. In the end, it's their copyright, right? It's their copyright, and they should have the ability to use that, right? That's that point. If they want to use AI to enhance their art and it's their copyright, then they absolutely should. And what I've understood from many artists, they're fine with that as long as nobody is stealing or scraping their art. We at Anasaea have very high level of security. We use Unity. We have non-scraping. You cannot copy. You cannot do anything. But that discussion is a very relevant one. However, I think that's not the main topic of how artists feel about AI. It's can AI help them augment their income, help them become sort of more discoverable, get their larger share of influence versus just somehow waiting to be discovered. So I'm not trying to be evasive on that question, but it's a very difficult topic. All I know is that copyright is paramount. That's what I know, and we always follow the right of the artist.
Perfect. And I appreciate that. Yeah, me putting you on the spot, especially with all the, GPT 4.0, image generator. That's all everyone's talking about the last week and a half is. So I'm like, I have a professional in front of me. Let's find out what they think. So I appreciate that.
I think copyright is paramount, and every artist should decide for themselves how they want to go with it. But we are trying to give them choice.
Love it. Absolutely. So we have just a few minutes left. We have some questions that we want to answer. And of course, if there is a pertinent question that you would like, for us to give an actual answer to, we can always respond with you and interact with you via LinkedIn after the fact. But the first question actually comes from Jonathan in the chat. So with the added value that you're providing to these artists, Mark, has your pricing model / strategy changed? And is this offering an optional service to purchase?
No, our pricing model has not changed at all. We simply put that into our offer. So we have because we are all about art democratization, we have a free offer for every single artist, so they're able to use it for free. There is obviously a paid option. We have to make money somehow, but we put that into the paid option as an additional benefit. We did not change anything at all because in the end, for us, the price did not become much higher. The initial price, of course, to build everything, but the total end price not. So yeah, thanks to Integrail for helping us there.
Thank you, Jonathan. And then I know we have just 1 minute left. This is a question from Michael. And I don't know if this necessarily would be in your wheelhouse, Mark, but we'll see. So can you explain what the improved SEO content really meant was it on the website? Was it the metadata? As much as of course I can throw in some thoughts there as well, but what do you think that the actual improved SEO content meant for Anasaea?
No, it just meant that we were able to index more pages faster. Because every page you create, every time an artist comes online, they basically get their own page. And it has to be indexed by Google. It has to be found by Google. It allowed those pages to be found faster. As opposed to Google going, I don't like that. It's not a very good description. I'm not going to recommend it. It gave a better description so the people were found faster. So it just made our time to market for that artist faster.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, everyone, that is the top of the hour here. I want to thank Mark. I want to thank you so much for joining and for really providing this insight. It was super, super valuable for all of the marketers out there. And I want to thank all of you that came and actually was a part of this conversation. What I'll point you to now is please go to our LinkedIn, go to our YouTube channel. We also have a Discord channel for anyone that is interested in actually learning to build these agents. So like Mark has been talking about, like I've been talking about, I literally show you and can actually put demos of how you can build some of these agents yourself on our Discord, on our LinkedIn, on our YouTube channel, and you can also interact with us there. But besides that, if you are interested in trying to build some of these agents, you can have a free trial on our website, as well as if you are a company like how Anasaea is, that would like for this to be implemented into your company's workflow, you can request a demo from us where we can actually show you some of these hyper-personalized agents for you and your company. And you can find that on our website at integrail.ai as well. But besides that, thank you all for joining. Mark, once again, thank you for joining today too.